Hey guys, Kid here of Burn One with a new video where we're going to be talking about my thoughts on the ban list update that will be hitting the Japanese format on February 1st of 2019. So they did do some changes to the following sets, which would be Milky Homes, Love Live Sunshine, Bang Dream, and Hina Luck and Logic. I think for the most part, most people were seeing these changes outside of Milky Homes. I knew that Sunshine was in a position to be really powerful after the original Bang Dream banning of, or restriction, I should say, of the PR card, because that card was too ridiculous to begin with. So that was a surprise hit, or non-surprise hit, I should say, for Sunshine and Hina Logic as well. So let's just jump right into it. We're going to first talk about the one card that they unbanned, or unrestricted, I should say. They made it so it could be a one of in a deck, which is kind of surprising, which is the 3/2 event Cordelia's Garden. So for those that don't know, if they didn't play a million years ago, which is this event is you heal the top two cards of your clock and then give one of your characters 3,000 power for the turn and then send this card to memory. So this card coming off restriction, or restricted to one instead of completely being banned, I don't think it's going to really change much for Milky Homes. Maybe it'll make some level 3s that cantrip more powerful, I guess. But the fact that the event is a one of makes it very inconsistent. So outside of being able to cantrip into it fairly consistently with other level 3s, this card is probably going to have almost no impact on Milky Homes. Like the games you get it off, you probably feel really good, and the games you don't get it off, I mean, they're just normal Milky Home games, right? Outside of that, I don't think there's anything else that really interacts with it very well. But yeah, it's just a really efficient healer that also gives power, so make sure your level 3s can reverse things. So if you have any reverse combos that are good coming up, I remember there's some PR cards coming up, but I can't even remember what they do right now. But any level 3 combo that requires a reverse at level 3 and needs extra power, this is a really good option for it. It's probably going to be forced into every Milky Homes deck anyway, because almost every Milky Homes deck is basically 4 colors, since you abuse the level zone swap mechanic in the set very often. So yeah, but I don't know if this is really going to buff Milky Homes enough for it to be somewhat scary anymore. So let's just move on to the next ones. I guess we'll start with Hina Luck and Logic. So this one was a pretty obvious hit that was coming. The play rate of Hina Luck and Logic in Japan and the rate it was placing very well was pretty high. It was also a deck that I would consider like, it's a weird way to describe it this way, but I consider it like a better consistent ReZero set 1 that had like a lot more going for it. It was really easy to get clean stock in this deck. You weren't forced into any climax combo at level 1. You could play Blank Gate, or you can play 8 Gate, or you can play Blank Gate and then the Blue Gate if you wanted, or the the Blue Arch or whatever that brings climaxes back to your hand if you want to have a little bit more of aggressive level 3. But usually I think most people lean toward playing like 6 to 8 gates just for more consistency's sake, since the set was really good at doing what it does. So the bans the deck got were the 1-0 Merlin Teacher Alarm, or whatever you want to call it, the one where every time you did fusion or trans, I do not remember what they call it, but whenever you fuse characters, you can search your deck for a character to add to your hand. So what made this so powerful is that getting one fusion off would basically be able to let you search for more pieces for your fusion, so you can get a consistent triple early play out without having to have a really set up hand for it. So this hit is definitely going to hurt a bit for sure. And then the second card on their choice of 2 list, which is the 3/2 Yuko, which is the most prevalent level 3. It's the early out level 3 that builds markers, and this is why I say it's kind of like a betterish version of ReZero, because it imitates what Rem is doing in the initial ReZero release, but does it just better, because as soon as you summon this character, you already get 2 markers, and then when it attacks, you get a 3rd marker, and every marker has, it buffs it by, I believe, 1,000. I don't have the card in front of me right now, but I'm almost certain it's 1,000 power. And then depending how many markers you have a climax combo that goes along with it if you choose to use it, though I think it was barely used in like the higher end of competitive play. I think most people lean towards 8 gates. But either way, it had a combo where you can like top check 4 of your opponent's deck and discard any climaxes and then have them shuffle, which was a decently powerful effect, though I don't think it was very needed. So these 2 cards were like the most seen cards in the set. Obviously, the Teacher Alarm card was going to be one of the most seen cards because this is a set looking to abuse that fusion mechanic. So of course, every list had like two in their deck, so they could find one early on and then clock it at level 2 just to start slamming a lot of level 3s out easily. One thing to note too about it, what made it so good, was that since it pulls from deck, yeah, I'm pretty sure it pulls from deck, I can't remember right now, but it pulls from deck, which does pull out more potential damage from your deck, as well as, like, you know, thin your deck out a little bit more, or whatever you want to say. But you could get more changer or fusion cards out, you can get more counters or anything like that to protect the level 3s, and this is like one of those decks, once again, this is why I'm comparing it a lot to ReZero, is that it snowballs itself from level 2 into a victory through compression from the markers. And since whenever the Yugo attacks, it pulls a marker from the waiting room, so you know it's always going to be clean. And then the initial markers you get when changing obviously are 2 characters, so those obviously aren't climaxes. Since it can build a lot of very clean clean markers without having any real condition other than attacking, it made the card pretty powerful on top of like getting all this extra power from every marker it got. So the level 3 itself would just slowly snowball out of control if it was unanswered for like 2 to 3 turns, making it very hard if your opponent gets a refresh off with like 3 of these guys out with 5 markers each. That's 15 cards not going back into the deck. That could have been potential damage, and if they somehow refresh with 8 at that point, it's a really spooky thing. You got to start poking for 1s and 2s and pray to the Weiss God that damage is going to go through, because their deck is super compressed at that point. So this hit overall I think is a pretty solid hit. I think we're going to see a lot of people keeping the Teacher Alarm, Merlin Alarm, whatever you want to call it, in the list, just because that effect is really powerful no matter what early play you're going to be playing in the set, because all of them I believe use some kind of fusion mechanic for the most part, and because the set was built around that mechanic essentially, this is easily the card of choice. I kind of see, I wish I knew the characters of this set, but I know there was like a burn 4 on reverse card or something like that, I think from set 1, the girl with the rose whip and stuff. I'm pretty sure that card's going to fall back in because it lets you still play 8 gates to make the deck very consistent, along with having a in-game that starts kind of burning you at level 2 sorta, and as long as you have the Teacher Alarm and stuff, you're pretty set. I don't think any of the other level 3s seem very impactful for the fusion mechanic, so I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to end up moving towards that, I assume. Maybe people will start going back to, I know in set 1 it had top check 4 combo with the blue arch or blue pants, whatever. Man, I don't even know what to call these cards anymore. There's too many community lingo for these climaxes. But anyway, the combo that lets you top check 4 and give power somewhere is also a good choice. So maybe people will start moving towards that again, or maybe not. I really liked how the current unbanned Henologic deck worked at level 1, just because it had no combo or anything, and it was very consistent at keeping very clean stock. But I guess as time goes on, we'll see how Henologic develops any new decks or any ideas, and maybe they'll get a new set coming up. Maybe that's why they hit it like this, this time around, because they know maybe a set's coming out mid of next year, or this year, I guess, 2019. Next, we'll talk about Ping Dream here. This was a little, I don't want to say surprising, but the way they hit it is kind of surprising to me. So obviously, since day 1 of that Kasumi PR reveal, I've been telling everyone, yo, this card is broken. It does too much for nothing. It costs you nothing. This is the easy 3 to 4 of in every deck. And then as soon as it was banned to 1, it's the easy 1 of in every deck. It makes the Kasumi combo so consistent and so ridiculous. It also makes your Brainstormers better. And on top of that, it lets you give power to a card on play. Like, what? Whoever designed this card, what were you thinking, man? Come on. It's obvious this card just did too much for no investment at all. This card was so versatile. It made every Kasumi combo so consistent. Anytime you want to brainstorm and increase your odds, anytime you need to pull out cards, you play this card. You pull out an event with it too. So it was basically get a level 1 Kasumi plus mill 3 and get like a level 2 or lower, a level 0 or whatever. You just had it just did too much for the deck. It was too much utility. It was amazing. So obviously this card was going to get banned completely, and here we are. Obviously, I'm glad I called that right since the day of release of this card. Next, their choice 3 list for Bang Dream. So this is a little bit surprising, but at the same time not really. So they have on there the 3/2 set 1 Orisa that is basically used as a support most of the time, but the power play it had was on play you pay. Oh no, on play you don't pay anything. You rest the standing character, which forces your opponent to pick 1 climax in their waiting room, leave it there, and then put all the other cards back into the deck and shuffle. So what made this so scary is this other card that's on the choice of 3 list, or choice of 1 out of 3, is the stock swap bread event, the Lucky Bun. So if you've been following the Japanese meta at all, you've noticed that every list ran. If it ran blue and red, which if you're not playing Kasumi, I don't know what you're doing. So you already were playing red, and then most lists were already either running, Mocha top end, which still I feel like doesn't do enough. So I think people should just really get away from Mocha top end. I think it's a really, really bad card unless you're ahead, basically. But besides that, they were playing this combination of cards with Yukiko, or not Yukiko, Yukina. Why did I call her Yukiko? Yukina, because Yukina has a really high damage output, broken up into 2 instances of 2. It was really stock intensive too to use Yukina, but generally you just needed 1 to close out the game, especially after you play Orisa plus you play the bread event into Orisa and then do the Yukina combo. Generally your opponent was going to take that 7 and just die instantly. It was the combination of those 3 cards were very spooky, and the fact that most Japanese lists moved over to the 8 to 10 event list, which I think is really, really powerful. It just builds so much stock, and yeah, clean stock, add to hand. That list is really, really strong. I really love the 8 to 10 event deck list, but it made it very, very consistent to get off all these combo stuff going into level 3. But one thing they added on this list, which is kind of surprising, but I can understand why they added it to the list, which is the 2/1 Orisa free fresh counter. So the reason I think they added this in there as well is that you could actually get a lot of abuse of that counter, like every game. If a game goes a little long, you can get it off like 2 to 3 times in a game, just from the crazy amount of stock manipulation you have from building stock from the toilet events. I'm kind of surprised though that they did end up putting this all together into one list, because Konosuba has the same kind of top-end mentality that Bang Dream has, but I guess the level 1 combo with Bang Dream is just way more consistent or been abused more. So there was a way more player base for Bang Dream. Moving forward, though, Bang Dream does have another set coming out, so I'm sure that's going to completely change how the deck is going to be built currently. I think right now, one of the most fun decks to play as you wait for that transition into the next Bang Dream list is playing, there's a list I've been playing for fun. I call it the double Kokoro combo list. So that list actually plays both level 1 combos of Kokoro and plays the new top-in, I forget her name, the girl that looks like Rin. When she attacks and triggers a trigger icon, you can burn 3 to your opponent, which I think is really powerful because you're allowed to double trigger a lot because of the climax combo that involves it as well. Works with the climax combo for the Michelle Brainstormer that gives a card double trigger if they pay 1 on attack, which I think is really, really powerful. It also keeps your stock very, very clean throughout the game. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how Bang Dream lists evolve until the new set comes out, because I'm sure the new set is going to add so much new top end and utility to the set that it'll change completely how Bang Dream is currently played. That's why I'm probably not going to touch Bang Dream until that new set comes out. finally, the big bad of the room, which is Love Live Sunshine. So if you've been, I'm not sure if I actually said this in any of my videos, but if you know me and see me talk around about what I thought the strongest set was after the recent banning, or the last banning update, ban list update, I thought Love Live Sunshine was in a position to be just the best deck, period. It does so much stuff so well. So it had multiple level 1 climax combos that you can choose from, though I believe at the end of the day, I want to say the Chica was probably the better combo, but Yo was a very, very close second. The only reason I like Chica combo more is the same reason I always advocate that Sunshine is very powerful, even in matchups where it kind of gets screwed out a little bit. But the fact that you can force double reverse with Chica if you get to level 1 first is really, really powerful versus a lot of decks. On top of this is another deck that they start ending the game at level 2 instead of level 3, so it feels so the tempo that Love Live Sunshine gave at level 2 was just ridiculous. If you had no answers to it, it felt really, really bad. And even when you did answer it at level 2, usually by the time that happens, like, the damage has already been done, because even though you can snipe out one of their early play level 3s to blank an attack and possibly not damage, but deny them 1 extra stock that turn, usually the Yo level 3 is so easy to set up a burn 3 or 2 or something that it's like they got 3 attacks that turn, so they actually end up not losing any tempo advantage that they would have lost from you playing an anti-early level 3 counter. So even if you were able to get that stuff off, it still felt really, really bad, because then the game went from being like pushing the end game so early to moving it like 1 turn later, I guess. Yeah, something like that. Just even though you can deny them 1 attack, they still get like 3 attacks that turn, basically, or 3 instances of damage, which is still spooky. And anytime you don't get to deny them 1 of those, they get like 4 attacks a turn starting at level 2, is just really, really rough. The biggest weakness to Sunshine, like I've always advocated about, is that they have to spend stock all the time. They don't have time to build up any real resources, so they're just playing that like mid-range tempo thing where, like, look, I'm going to start playing my early play level 3s and start trying to kill you as soon as possible, hopefully speeding up the game in the process, not giving you any extra time or any extra turns to build up your hand or compression or anything like that. Another big weakness to Sunshine was always like being really, really aggressive compression. So the only other set, in my opinion, that had like was on the same level as Sunshine was Luck and Logic, Hina Luck and Logic, which in those matchups I always felt like whoever got to level 3 or not level 3, level 2 first could kind of force the other person into a really bad position. But I know Sunshine did have an anti-level 3 counter, which it hurts Hina Luck and Logic a lot more. In my head, that matchup was always kind of like a 50-50 matchup, I guess. Maybe leaning a little bit more towards Sunshine, maybe like a 5.5 to 4.5 matchup at most. But that matchup was really even, and at the time I considered them both the 2 best decks. I personally considered Sunshine at the top, because I just felt there was a lot of good utility going on with this set. Had standby, you could play 8 gates if you wanted to, you could play gate standby, blank gate stock soul. It just had so much going on for it, and the early out level 3 was just so crazy. I just realized, talking about all this Sunshine stuff, I don't think I ever explained what the what the ban list was for Sunshine. So getting into Sunshine, the ban list was they made it so you can only play 1 Yo now, which hurts tempo a lot. So I think banning Yo or restricting Yo to 1 per deck suddenly brings Chica level 1 combo way higher up, because one of the biggest tools for Chica or for picking Chica level 1 combo was that you could stock soul away a Yo and guarantee that Yo will be there after refresh, which was one of the most important things to have, especially if you're not running the full playset of Yos. But let's be honest, who's not playing a full playset of Yos level 3s? So since this is now a 1-of, I think Chica becomes more valuable at level 1 than any other combo, just because you can stock soul away it, and then the level 2 you can start spinning the stock to poop out the level 3. Next, there was a choice of 3. Now, this choice of 3 is actually a little bit surprising that they added something. So, before it was the level 0 Kanon that would bring stuff back and you could top check. So they removed that and instead put the level 1 Ruby, which was on there originally, 2-1 Rico, which was on there, I believe, and then they added the level 1 Mari. So what happened here was that Mari as a card just got way more value as more sets came out for Sunshine. If you looked at deck lists and how they evolved from the beginning of the new release to now, you'll notice that the level 3 and level 2 count was always pushed a little bit more. You'd get lists that hitting like that 20 to 22, like level 3 or 20 to 22, 25 even hits on the reveal top check. So like half the deck was level 2 or higher at some points because the Mari level 1 synergizes so well with your game plan of your level 3 Yo that they like worked hand in hand. One of my most favorite parts about Mari too is that once she top checks, so you can top check, look at a card, move it to top or bottom to manipulate your deck a little bit and decide whether you want to reveal the top card or not. It also worked a ton with Rico level 2 support, which also a lot of sets, or a lot of decks I should say, at 1.2 were playing a lot of standby, and the way they abused standby was the 2-1 Rico support was so good at hand filtering so well that getting it out at level 1 and then being able to abuse it with Mari, especially if you get stuck at level 1, is super good, on top of the fact that Mari most of the time is like a +1 every turn. That also helps you all game. It made it so like Sunshine could get away with not clocking as much as other decks on top of being as aggressive as others. Made it very annoying for a lot of people to play with. One thing to note though is that since the level 0 Kanon came off the ban list or restriction list as a choice son, now you can play it as a full 4 of if you wanted or something. I feel like people are gonna push in that either way, no matter even if they're not gonna be playing the Yo Chica second year package at level 2 anymore because they feel like it's not worth it anymore. I think people are gonna push that into almost every list because that level 0 is very powerful. It helps you set up level 1 combos early game because you can just put this in the front field and start swinging to empty slots, and then your opponent will eventually kill it at some point at level 0, or if they hit the level 1 first, they'll get a combo off it or whatever. And then once it goes to waiting room, you can top check to see if you want to draw it. If it's the climax you want, then good. If not, you just move it to the waiting room. Bottom deck, I think, is where I moved it. I forget where it moves the card to. But either way, you get to have better card choice throughout the game, so the more often you get this off, the better draws you're going to get all game, especially if you're playing Mari as your choice of card, which I think is a really powerful choice card if you're not playing the Rico level 2 support. I think the 1-0 Mari is really, really powerful because the set still has a lot of very powerful early out level 3s that can be abused. You have the Dia RNG combo, I like to call it, at level 1 from the extra booster that is also still available, which also combos with the Yoshiko level 3 that heals and is a Musashi. So I think that combination of cards at level 1 is still really, really powerful. I know some lists in JP were playing it, but it was not a very popular card because who would want to do that when you can just guarantee a plus with Chica, or guarantee a plus with I'm sorry, not guarantee, but like have a better choice of cards rather than hoping to randomly fall into cards with the diet combo at level 1. But either way, I'm pretty interested to see where Sunshine goes. I think the deck went from top tier to like tier 2 really, really quick after this, though there might be a movie booster or something in the future that will change this completely. The set still has a lot of good stuff. I know I think it's a Ruby level 3 combo. I think it's Ruby or Hanamaru, I forget. That burns 2 if it cancels and stuff like that. So I know that's a really good choice card that if people are looking for an aggressive top end, they have that. Early out level 3s, there are level 3 Yos that heal that come out early out now. which was used in the current list as well before the ban list for Sunshine, because it padded out your level 3 lineup for more burn 3s, as well as being an early out if you have 2 or less climaxes in your waiting room. That also heals. So anytime you were in a situation where you weren't able to set up your Yo early out plays, your your Chica Yo combo at level 2, you were able to still play cards that build really good tempo for you, like the early out Yo and stuff like that. But yeah, interested to see where things go from here. I hope to see some really interesting, good Sunshine builds coming out. I might experiment with myself and post up my thoughts about it more later on. If you guys are interested, you can just comment below, and I'll work on it a lot more than instead of casually looking at the list. But besides that, I'm going to talk a little bit now about my very, very sad my very sad expectations of the ban list. I know Japan is very hesitant on removing stuff off the ban list, but I always feel like the ban list right after Worlds is like such a good time to like experiment a little bit more than adding things to the ban list. I feel like removing more stuff in the ban list is doable nowadays. There's been a lot of power creep right now in Weiss. They kind of hit a sweet spot on ability and power going now forward. But I mean, the general power creep compared to like 4 or 5 years ago, some cards they have on the ban list like are in a vacuum very, very powerful. But when you consider the whole meta and the type of effects that we're getting nowadays, it's completely different. Those cards can come off the ban list. I'd really like to see Marika at least pushed up to 2 per deck. I'm sure that would help Nisekoi out a bunch, but also it's not as good as before, because like 11-5 power or something like that is not going to be enough to consistently win games. It still costs a lot to play Marika at level 3 and do the combo and everything like that. I think a lot of decks too have been way better at doing compression, way better at doing being able to mill their entire deck themselves. There's just a lot going on for every other deck utility wise that I feel like letting up on things like Marika, the 2-0 event, the backup event that removes climaxes from Haruhi. I don't know why that's on the list. They're so afraid of not letting level 3 climax combos go off that they put that on the list before it was even like tested. I don't even think Haruhi, even with that card, would be good enough to even fight like what's out there now. But yeah, well, I mean, Haruhi is still like probably a solid like low tier level 2 maybe, but either way, a lot of cards I think should be able to get off. I wish they would like experiment a little bit more with the Kantai ban list, like remove some more stuff. I don't think any of these unbannings they've done recently have really shooken up anything. I don't know, maybe like these sets went from 1% attendance rate to like 2% now, but I really hope Bushiroad just decides to start removing a lot more off the ban list at once, just to see how things shake up in the meta overall. I think outside of that, the choices they have on the ban list and everything like that seem fine. Most of it was to be expected. Did they miss anything I think was too strong? I don't think so. I think this ban list overall was pretty solid choices overall if they were going to ban anything. I can't really think of anything right now that's like too OP or scary or something in JP that I would be crying about. Yeah, but besides that, guys, let me know what you think of the ban list below. Comment below. I'd love to see what the other people in the community think about the ban list update. But yeah, besides that, guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.